Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. It's looking increasingly unlikely that the IBF will strip Andy Ruiz Jr. of his IBF title, which he won from Anthony Joshua as part of 3 belts he picked up after his monumental upset of Anthony Joshua on June 1st in New York. The question of the IBF title, what would happen given there's a mandatory challenge awaiting? It's been a question many fans have raised post that win of Ruiz's. What would happen now? Would there be a case, would he be stripped like Tyson Fury was when he took the rematch with Vladimir Klitschko, stripped immediately? There was a mandatory challenge awaiting. So the IBF has sought to somewhat clear this up. It's still a little bit blurry about what they're saying, not saying too much, but what they are saying, and this is a spokesperson that's given a brief statement to boxingscene.com. Jeanette Salazar says the WBO is the next up in the rotation of mandatory challenges. So while that's pretty brief and not really sort of saying too much, it is indicating that they are not the next cab off the rank. The WBO is. So we can take from that they're not going to stand in the way of this rematch. They will allow Andy Ruiz Jr. to keep his IBF title and put it on the line in the rematch with the other major titles that will also be on the line. What I take from this, one, it would have been a little bit stink for Ruiz having to, have that title stripped immediately like Tyson Fury had, but I guess the circumstances are slightly different. The IBF is saying the WBO challenger is the one that's next, not its challenger. But the other thing to consider here is it keeps all 3 belts together, which is good. I mean, if the IBF had a stripped Ruiz, it would have fragmented the titles again. There would have been, Kubrat Pulev facing someone for a title, and we would have had 3 champions again. And that fragmentation, not exactly something that fans were, really wanting to happen for the most part, because for the past year or so, there's been the prospect of an undisputed fight. And regardless of who wins, whenever this rematch happens between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Anthony Joshua, which is going to happen, Eddie Hearn has announced that the rematch clause has been triggered, so we're going to get that by the end of the year. It's going to be a big fight, but regardless of who wins that, they will hold on to the 3 titles. That keeps alive the prospect of an undisputed fight. And given we haven't had an undisputed champion in, almost 20 years, it would actually be very good to see that eventually happen if we can. The earliest, by the looks of it, given Deontay Wilder, the WBC champion, is busy with the likes of Luis Ortiz and possibly a fight with Tyson Fury, the earliest we could see it is 2020. Maybe we're starting to talk 2021, but keeping the titles together is a good thing. And also Andy Ruiz Jr., he deserved that belt, and the IBF, probably for its part as well, it will want to be part of this rematch, which will be a massive fight, and it will also generate some massive sanctioning fees for the IBF. And remember, these sanctioning bodies are all about the coin. That's what they operate on. This is why so many of them, the WBA in particular, is creating belts for Africa. It's all about the sanctioning fees, and there would be a hefty amount of dough and prestige on the line for this rematch, which will be, admittedly, a much bigger fight than the first time around. Andy Ruiz Jr. not, given much of a chance by fans in the lead up to that fight with Anthony Joshua. He gets to defend his titles now, all 3 of them, off the back of a full training camp, and he will get to prove whether he can deserve to keep them or not. And if he can keep them, well, he will be on to whatever he wants to do next, and possibly that will be mandatory challenges. But keeping them together is a good thing. And this was something that Eddie Hearn actually stated post-fight, that he thought that the belt would still be on the line. But the IBF has been notoriously strict before. But given it hasn't called that mandatory, the mandatory challenger is confirmed as Kubrat Pulev. There's no need for them to push it, given that they've ceded to the WBO here and said, look, their guy is next. And I guess that raises the question, well, what's going to happen with the WBO? There is no mandatory challenger yet. Dillian Whyte is the number 1 contender, but that is different to being the mandatory challenger. He is potentially in pole position to get that title shot, but who knows? I mean, you've got Alexander Usyk, who can lay claim to it because of his super champion status from his cruiserweight days. He can just claim the WBO mandatory. But given he's injured, he has not done that yet. He would have had his first fight at heavyweight in May against Carlos Takam, but he's got a torn bicep. He's coming back to the ring in September for his first fight at heavyweight. It remains to be seen if Carlos Takam will still be the opponent for that fight. But, you know, the WBO, it's got some decisions to make because it probably can't wait forever and a day. Maybe because this rematch has been ordered, it sort of buys a little bit of time. And if Alexander Usyk, after his September fight, decides, yeah, I do want to be the mandatory, I don't need any other fights, well, he may decide to take it then. We'll have to see. But Dillian Whyte, he is a name that is in contention for that mandatory spot. And also there has been talk from some fans that given Tyson Fury, very highly rated in the WBO, currently third ahead of this fight with Tom Schwartz, the WBO number 2, maybe he will lay claim to that too. It'd be pretty good if there was a final eliminator between Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte, but, you know, I just can't see that happening. Fury has already said it's unlikely that Whyte is to be his next fight. That had been something that he said he would be interested in, but then changed his mind later. That was because the WBC had said, yep, we want to order you for a final eliminator for their belts. But the WBO mandatory is still up in the air, but by the looks of it, from the IBF statement saying the WBO is next in line, it looks like Ruiz will hold on to that title. And that's a good thing, not only for him, but also the prospect of an undisputed fight. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.